I thought I truly knew my wife until I overheard her at a company event, casually saying she could dump me anytime. One phone call later, her boss was yelling, "What have you done?" But that was just the start. What I uncovered about her hidden accounts, deceitful friends, and dark secrets would shatter everything she thought she controlled. She used to call me furniture. I became her worst nightmare. My name is Dwayne Hart. I'm 42, and I work as a regional sales manager for a medical equipment company in Phoenix, Arizona. 3 years ago, I married Valerie Stevens, a marketing executive at Henderson Corporation, one of the largest consulting firms in the city. She had a 19-year-old son, Connor, from a previous marriage, and together we had a daughter, Leah. I believed we were creating something strong, something lasting. The night it all fell apart started like any other company event. Henderson Corp was celebrating its highest quarterly earnings in 5 years, and the celebration took place in a luxurious downtown hotel ballroom. I had attended these events before: long speeches, overpriced drinks, and endless discussions about market forecasts that made me zone out. I stood near the bar, nursing my second beer and glancing at my watch. Leah had been fussy when our nanny Rosa put her to bed, and I wanted to check on her. The music was loud, generic jazz bouncing off the high ceilings, and the room buzzed with the forced cheer that only comes after a few drinks. That's when I heard Valerie's voice cutting through the noise. She was maybe 20 feet away, surrounded by her usual group of coworkers. Her laugh was sharp, not the warm one I heard at home, more performative. "Honestly, girls," Valerie said, her voice slightly slurred from wine, "I can dump him whenever I want. Dwayne's just my safety net. Comfortable, dependable, but not thrilling." Her words hit me like a punch. I stepped closer, hidden behind a cluster of executives arguing about a merger. "Really?" one colleague asked, a woman whose voice I didn't recognize. "Absolutely," Valerie replied, her smirk audible. "He takes care of Leah, pays the bills, doesn't ask too many questions. But my real life starts Monday morning when I walk into this office." My grip tightened around my beer bottle. Monday morning? What did that mean? I watched her through the crowd. She wore the black dress I had complimented before leaving home, the one that made her look stunning. Her team lead, Tyler Cross, stood too close, closer than any married woman should allow. When she laughed, he whispered something, and she placed her hand on his chest, a familiarity that spoke volumes. That's when I knew this wasn't just cruel talk. This was real, ongoing right under my nose. I didn't make a scene. I didn't storm over there demanding answers. Instead, I set my beer on the nearest table and walked toward the exit. My mind was already racing, planning. Valerie thought she had control in our relationship. She was about to discover she was wrong. The drive home felt like the longest 20 minutes of my life. Valerie sat in the passenger seat, humming along to pop music on the radio, oblivious that her words had just ruined our marriage. She was texting, likely Tyler or one of her friends, about the party. "You left early," Valerie said without looking up. "I was looking for you during the speeches." "Had a headache," I replied calmly. "Figured you were having enough fun for both of us." She laughed, that same theatrical laugh from the party. "Oh, I was. Did you see Janet's face when Tyler asked me to dance? She's been after him for months." I tightened my grip on the wheel, but stayed neutral. "He seems like a nice guy," I said, trying to gauge more. "He's sophisticated, knows how to treat a woman right." She paused, and I could feel her eyes on me. "Not everyone values that quality these days," she implied. Clear enough. I wasn't sophisticated enough. I wasn't treating her properly. According to Valerie, I was just a safe fallback, disposable when something better appeared. At home, Rosa waited in the living room, reading a magazine. Our nanny, a single mother from El Salvador, had been with us almost 3 years, loved Leah like her own, and noticed things others missed. "How was the little one tonight?" Valerie asked, kicking off her heels. "She was good, Mrs. Hart," Rosa replied in her accented English. "Went down around 8:30, but asked for Daddy before bed." Valerie shrugged. "Kids always want Daddy when they're cranky." After Rosa left, I went upstairs to check on Leah. My 2-year-old daughter was sleeping soundly, her tiny hand clutching a stuffed elephant I had given her for her last birthday. Looking at her innocent face, something inside me steeled. No matter what Valerie was planning, whatever scheme she was playing, Leah would not become collateral damage. I heard Valerie's phone buzz from downstairs, followed by her quiet, amused laughter. More texting. I pulled out my own phone and scrolled to a contact I hadn't used in over a year. Brad Stevens, Connor's biological father and Valerie's ex-husband. Brad and I had only met a few times, usually at Connor's graduation or birthday parties. He was a decent man, one who had been steamrolled in the divorce with Valerie. I'd always wondered why such a successful contractor ended up paying so much alimony to a woman who earned well herself. Now, I was starting to understand. I sent Brad a simple message. Hey Brad, it's Dwayne. Could we meet for coffee this week? I need to ask you something. His reply came within minutes. Sure thing. Everything okay? Just some questions about the past. Nothing urgent. I'll call you tomorrow. I deleted the thread and put my phone away. Valerie thought she was clever, playing her little games while I remained clueless. But she had made one critical mistake, underestimating the man she tried to deceive. From downstairs, I heard her getting ready for bed, still humming that irritating song from the radio. She had no idea her dependable, comfortable safety net was about to turn into her worst nightmare. Brad Stevens looked older than I remembered, but success suited him. His construction business had grown significantly since the divorce, and it showed in his custom suit and confident presence. We met at a small coffee shop in Scottsdale, away from our usual spots. Thanks for meeting me, I said, sliding into the booth across from him. No problem, Dwayne. You sounded troubled, Brad replied, stirring his coffee. Let me guess. Valerie's up to her old tricks? I leaned forward. Old tricks? Brad laughed bitterly. You really don't know, do you? She did the same to me. Late nights, mysterious trips, treating you like furniture instead of a husband. My stomach tightened. Tell me everything. Valerie has a pattern, Brad explained. She finds a successful man, marries him, then looks for someone better, keeping the current husband as backup. In my case, it was her boss at the ad agency. They had an affair for 8 months before I discovered it. 8 months. I felt sick. The worst part? She tried to take everything in the divorce. I would have lost it all if I hadn't documented her infidelity. Legal fees cost me a fortune, but I kept my business and gained joint custody of Connor. Brad showed me a contact on his phone. My divorce attorney, Claire Mitchell. She's pricey, he warned, but a shark. If you want to protect yourself, she's the one. I memorized the number. Any other advice? Start documenting everything now? Valerie is smart, but predictable. She'll slip up thinking you're too nice to fight back. Brad's face hardened. Don't be too nice, Dwayne. She won't be. We spoke for another hour. Brad explained Valerie's spending habits, her skill at hiding assets, and how she manipulated custody arrangements. By the time I left the coffee shop, I had a roadmap for what was coming. That evening, I called Claire Mitchell's office and scheduled a consultation for Friday. Then I reviewed our financial records, hunting for irregularities. It didn't take long. Claire Mitchell's office was exactly what I expected: sleek, expensive, intimidating. She was in her late 30s, sharp-eyed, exuding the confidence of someone who'd won countless courtroom battles. Brad wasn't exaggerating about her fees, but after 10 minutes of listening, I knew she was worth every penny. Brad Stevens referred you, she said, reviewing my notes. He mentioned you might have a situation similar to his. My wife is having an affair with her department head. I have recordings of her bragging at a company party. Claire raised an eyebrow. Recordings? That's more than most clients bring on their first visit. I played the audio from the party. Claire listened, expressionless, taking notes. This is solid evidence of her mindset, but we'll need more for a strong case. What about financial irregularities? I handed her a folder, credit card statements from the past 6 months. She had been spending on things we never discussed. Expensive dinners, hotel rooms on nights she claimed to be working late. Claire flipped through the statements. This restaurant receipt is from last Tuesday. Where were you that evening? Home with Leah. Valerie claimed she had a client dinner that ran late, reflected in this hotel charge. Same night. She said the meeting moved to a hotel conference room. Claire's smile was sharp, almost predatory. Your wife isn't very creative with her lies. This will be perfect in court, especially alongside the audio recording. She laid out a strategy that was both thorough and ruthless. We would document everything, freeze joint assets to prevent her from hiding funds, and use her own words against her in custody proceedings. One more thing, Claire said as I prepared to leave. Don't let her know you're onto her. Act normal. Be the same dependable husband you've always been. Let her think she's in control while we build our case. I shook her hand. How long do you think this will take? If she's as predictable as Brad suggested, probably 2 to 3 weeks. Affairs like this escalate fast once the participants get comfortable. Driving home, I felt a feeling I hadn't in months: hope. Valerie thought she was playing chess while I was playing checkers. She had no idea I'd just hired a grandmaster. That night, I watched Valerie get ready for another late client dinner. She kissed my cheek before leaving, the same casual gesture she had repeated hundreds of times. "Don't wait up," she said. "This could take hours." "I'll keep dinner warm," I replied, playing the role of the devoted husband. After her car disappeared down the street, I opened my laptop and began documenting everything Claire had taught me to watch for. Valerie had been right about one thing. Monday through Friday was her true life. She just didn't realize her real life was about to become evidence. The plan Claire and I developed was elegantly simple. We would create a fake business opportunity to tempt Tyler Cross into a critical mistake. Claire had contacts with a private investigation firm specializing in corporate entrapment. Completely legal, devastatingly effective. Rosa had been invaluable in gathering intelligence. During our weekly coffee meetings, she shared observations about Valerie's behavior I had missed. Late-night calls, expensive new clothes hidden in the back of her closet, the way she spoke about upgrading our lifestyle. She once said she had an important business dinner that would run late. "Where?" I asked. "The Phoenician Resort, a very fancy place." She said Mr. Tyler is bringing an important client from California. A familiar surge of anger rose in me, but I stayed calm. "Thanks for letting me know. I might have to work late that night, too." Claire's investigator, a former FBI agent named Detective Pierce, had researched Tyler Cross. What he found was troubling, but not surprising. Tyler was married to Rebecca Cross, daughter of Henderson Corp's CEO. His position was secured by nepotism, but his personal life was a disaster. 2 previous affairs, both covered up by his father-in-law. "This guy thinks he's untouchable," Pierce explained. "But his weakness is greed. He can't resist what looks like easy money." The trap was a fake real estate investment opportunity. Pierce would pose as a California developer seeking local partners. The meeting would be at the Phoenician Resort, the same place where Tyler and Valerie planned a romantic weekend. "We'll have audio and video equipment throughout the suite," Pierce said. "When Tyler brings your wife to what he thinks is a business meeting, we'll have everything we need." Friday evening arrived perfectly. Valerie spent an hour getting ready, choosing a dress clearly unsuitable for a business dinner. She kissed me goodbye with the casual affection she had shown for months. "Don't wait up, honey," she said. "This could be a very important night for my career." "I'm sure we'll be fine," I replied, meaning every word. After she left, I drove to a hotel across town where Claire awaited with the surveillance equipment. We monitored everything in real time, ensuring we captured every moment of Valerie's deception. "You ready for this?" Claire asked as we settled to watch the feeds. "I've been ready for weeks," I said, thinking of Leia sleeping peacefully at home, unaware her mother was about to destroy our family. The cameras showed Tyler and Valerie entering the suite, clearly expecting a romantic evening, not a business meeting. When Pierce introduced himself as the California developer, their expressions shifted from confidence to confusion to panic. That's when we knew we had them. Monday morning at Henderson Corp started like any other day. Valerie left for work in her usual professional attire, still riding high from what she thought had been a successful weekend with Tyler. She had no idea Detective Pierce had already delivered a detailed report to her company's board of directors. I was at my office when Claire called with an update. "It's happening now," she said. Pierce confirmed security had escorted Tyler to the executive conference room about 20 minutes ago. Valerie should be next. The Phoenician recordings captured everything. Not only Tyler and Valerie's affair, but also their discussion about using company resources for personal trips and Tyler's promises to promote Valerie in exchange for sexual favors. The most incriminating evidence was their plan to steal money from the California development project they believed was legitimate. "What's the company's response?" I asked. "Rebecca Cross found out about her husband's new affair this morning," Claire replied. "Her father's livid. They're not just firing Tyler, they're pressing criminal charges." At 10:47 a.m., a text from Rosa lit up my phone. Mrs. Valerie came home early, very upset. She's crying and throwing things. I left work and drove home. pulling up just as Valerie's Mercedes entered the driveway. She sat motionless for several minutes, clutching the steering wheel, staring blankly ahead. When she finally stepped out, her makeup was smeared and her hands trembled. "Rough day at work?" I asked from the doorway. Valerie looked at me with a mix of fear and realization I'd never seen before. "Dwayne, we need to talk. Something awful happened at the office. They're accusing me of being involved in a fraud scheme. It's a huge misunderstanding, but they've suspended me until the investigation's done." "That sounds serious. What kind of fraud?" "I don't know. They won't tell me anything, just that they have evidence of financial misconduct. They escorted me out like a criminal." I let her ramble, spinning excuses faster than she could think. She said Tyler set her up, that the company was scapegoating her, that jealous co-workers fabricated everything. "The worst part," she continued, "is that they fired Tyler too. His wife stormed into the office this morning, screaming at him about hotel bills and private investigators. It was humiliating." "Seems like Tyler's marriage is falling apart," I said casually. "Dwayne, I'm terrified. What if they charge me? What if I lose my job for good? We could lose the house, Leia's college fund, everything." For the first time in months, she looked at me not as her fallback, but as her partner. But it was too late for that. "Don't worry," I said, placing an arm around her. "We'll handle this together. Maybe call a lawyer, just in case." "You're right. Do you know anyone good?" "Actually, I do." I handed her Claire Mitchell's business card, the same attorney who'd been quietly building the case against her for 3 weeks. Valerie clutched it like a lifeline, unaware it was the number of her own destroyer. 3 days later, Jason Reed made his move. He was a mid-level analyst at Henderson Corp, and he'd apparently been tracking Valerie and Tyler's affair for months. Claire and I had been waiting for someone like him to surface. The call came Tuesday evening while Valerie was upstairs putting Leia to bed. "Dwayne Hart," I answered. A shaky voice replied, "This is Jason Reed. I work with your wife. We need to talk." "About what?" "About what I know regarding Valerie and Tyler Cross. Information certain people would pay for." A cold smile crept across my face. "I'm listening." "Not on the phone. Meet me tomorrow at Murphy's Bar on Camelback Road, 8 p.m. Come alone, and bring your checkbook." He hung up before I could respond. I immediately called Claire. "A blackmail attempt," she said. "Expected. This could actually help us. More leverage for our case." The next night, I arrived early. Claire's team was already in place. 2 undercover investigators posing as patrons, recording gear hidden in my jacket. Jason Reed was exactly what I'd pictured, sweaty, nervous, and greedy. "Thanks for coming," he said, sliding into the booth. "I'll be direct. I've got photos, emails, hotel receipts, everything proving your wife's affair with Tyler Cross. And you want money for it. 25,000 cash. You get everything, and I disappear." I leaned back. "And what makes you think I don't already know?" Jason's smirk faded. "Even if you do, you don't have proof." "I do." "Show me." He pulled out his phone, showing photos of Valerie and Tyler entering hotels, kissing in parking garages, dining together. They were crystal clear and damning. "These are solid," I said. "But I have something better." "Better than this?" "Video, audio, financial records, and most importantly, federal criminal charges. Against both of them." Jason went pale. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about your blackmail attempt now being part of a federal fraud investigation. The FBI will love your photos. They prove you've been stalking federal suspects." I stood, dropping a business card on the table. "That's my lawyer's number. You might want to call her before the FBI calls you." Jason froze, staring at the card like it might bite him. "This isn't over." "Actually, it is. And Jason, next time you try blackmail, make sure your target isn't already 10 steps ahead." I walked out, leaving him to stew in fear. Claire's team had recorded everything, tightening the web of evidence around Valerie's affair and corruption. Thursday morning, Rosa called me urgently, her voice trembling like I'd never heard before. "Mr. Dwayne, you need to come home now. Mrs. Valerie's mother is here, and they're having a very loud fight about money." I left my office immediately, driving home to find Margaret, Valerie's mother, in our living room, waving a stack of papers at her daughter. Margaret, a sharp woman in her 70s, had always been polite but distant with me. "You foolish girl," Margaret shouted as I entered. "Do you even realize what you've done?" "Mother, please lower your voice. The neighbors will hear," Valerie protested. Let them hear. Maybe they should know what kind of daughter I raised. I cleared my throat. Ladies, is everything all right? Margaret turned to me, her face twisted in disgust. Dwayne, I'm sorry you have to witness this, but my daughter has been lying to all of us for years. Mother, please don't. Don't tell him about the trust fund your father left you, the one you've been hiding from your husband for 3 years. My blood ran cold. What trust fund? Margaret handed me the papers. When Valerie's father passed away, he left her a sizable inheritance in a trust fund. She was supposed to disclose it when we married, but chose to keep it secret. Scanning the documents, I realized the trust fund was worth over $200,000, with monthly distributions explaining how Valerie had funded her lavish lifestyle and secret trips with Tyler. Valerie, is this true? Valerie's face flushed with embarrassment and anger. It's my money from my father. I didn't think I needed to tell you. You didn't think you needed to tell your husband about a trust fund worth more than our house. The money was meant for emergencies and Leia's future. Margaret continued. There's less than $30,000 left. I felt familiar rage rising, but kept my voice calm. Valerie, we struggled to pay for Leia's daycare while you had access to this money. I was saving it for something important. Important like what? Romantic getaways with your boyfriend, Margaret exclaimed. Boyfriend? Valerie, please tell me you haven't been having an affair. The silence that followed was deafening. Valerie looked between her mother and me, realizing her web of lies was unraveling. This is ridiculous. You're ganging up on me while I'm dealing with false accusations at work. False accusations? Margaret asked. I pulled out my phone and played the recording from the company party. Margaret listened, her expression hardening with each word as Valerie described me as disposable furniture. You disgust me, Margaret said when the recording ended. Your father would be ashamed. She turned to me. Dwayne, I'm changing the trust fund beneficiary. Whatever remains will go to Leia's college fund. With you as trustee, Valerie has proven she cannot be trusted with money or marriage. Valerie stared at us, finally understanding that her comfortable life of lies and secret money was over. The panic in her eyes revealed she was beginning to grasp the gravity of her situation. Judge Harlan Whitmore had presided over family court in Phoenix for nearly 20 years. According to Claire's research, he had a history of favoring wealthy defendants who could afford his particular brand of justice. What Judge Whitmore didn't know was that Claire had been preparing specifically for him. Valerie's father and Judge Whitmore were old golf buddies. Claire explained during our pre-hearing briefing that she was counting on that relationship to influence custody and asset decisions. What's our strategy? I asked. We're going to expose his corruption before he can rule against us. I've been working with the State Judicial Review Board for 3 weeks, Claire replied. The hearing was scheduled for Tuesday morning. Valerie arrived with a high-priced attorney she had somehow managed to hire, likely using the last of her trust fund. She looked confident, almost smug. As we entered the courtroom, Judge Whitmore took the bench, exuding his usual arrogance. This is a complex case involving allegations of adultery, financial misconduct, and child custody. I've reviewed the preliminary documents, and some of these accusations seem quite serious, he said, looking directly at me, clearly indicating his leaning. Claire stood. Your Honor, before we proceed, I have a motion regarding potential judicial bias in this case. Judge Whitmore's face darkened. What kind of bias, Counselor? The kind involving offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, Your Honor, Claire said. Bank accounts showing payments from multiple defendants who appeared before your court over the last 5 years. The courtroom fell silent. Valerie's attorney looked stunned, and Valerie herself went pale. That's a serious accusation, Ms. Mitchell. It's a serious crime, Your Honor. Federal investigators are already reviewing the evidence. Judge Whitmore's hands trembled as Claire handed him a folder containing bank statements, wire transfers, and a list of cases where his rulings favored specific defendants immediately after receiving unexplained payments. This hearing is adjourned, he stammered. I'm recusing myself from this case. He nearly tripped leaving the bench. Within the hour, news broke that he was under federal investigation for judicial corruption. Valerie stared at me, terror in her eyes, finally realizing that every move she had made had been anticipated, and every advantage she thought she had was an illusion. Simple, I said when she whispered, Ow. I hired better people than you did. 2 days later, we appeared before Judge Patricia Rodriguez, a respected jurist with an unblemished reputation. The hearing lasted less than an hour. Judge Rodriguez granted me full custody of Leah, ordered Valerie to pay child support, and divided our assets according to the evidence of her financial deceit. Valerie lost everything except supervised visitation rights and a mountain of legal debt. 18 months later, Leah and I were settled in a new home across town. Far from Valerie's betrayal, our daughter was thriving at her new daycare, and Rosa had become more family than employee. Connor visited regularly, choosing to live with his father, Brad, to avoid his mother's ongoing legal troubles. Valerie had been sentenced to 2 years in federal prison for fraud and embezzlement. Tyler Cross got 5 years and lost everything when his father-in-law discovered the full extent of his crimes. Jason Reed, the would-be blackmailer, received 18 months for extortion and obstruction of justice. "Daddy," Leah called from the backyard, swinging on the new set I had installed. At 3 years old, she was joyful, healthy, and blissfully unaware of the chaos that had surrounded her early life. "Very impressive, sweetheart," I called back, watching her pump her legs higher. Claire and I had been dating for 6 months. She was nothing like Valerie, honest, direct, and genuinely interested in building a real relationship. Most importantly, she adored Leah and treated her as her own. "Any regrets?" Claire asked, joining me on the patio with 2 cups of coffee. "About which part?" I replied, "Any of it. The investigation, the trap, ruining Valerie's life." I paused, watching Leah swing and laugh. "No regrets. She made her choices, I made mine. The difference is I made mine thinking about Leah's future." "What about forgiveness?" "Forgiveness is for those who are truly sorry. Valerie is only sorry she got caught." That evening, after Leah was asleep, I reviewed the final divorce documents. Everything was settled, assets divided, debts assigned, and Valerie's name removed from every account, deed, and document that had once bound our lives together. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed my life." I stared, then deleted it without responding. Valerie still didn't realize she had ruined her own life. I had merely documented it. I looked out at the desert sunset, thinking of the future instead of the past. Claire was moving in officially tomorrow. Next month, we were taking Leah to Disneyland for her 4th birthday. Next year? Who knows? Maybe a wedding. Maybe more children. Maybe simply the quiet happiness Valerie had never understood. I had learned that trust in marriage is given freely, but only to those who deserve it. Valerie had taught me the difference between love and manipulation, between partnership and exploitation. Painful as the lesson was, I was grateful, because now I knew what real love looked like, and I would never settle for less again.